Hi, I'm Miss Hearn. Let's get started. We're going to be talking about circles. A circle is the set of all points in a plane that are equidistant from a fixed point called the center. The fixed distance from the circle's center to any point on the circle is called the radius. Okay, so I wanted to show you this formal definition of a circle so you can see how it involves distance. But let's think about what a circle is. A circle revolves around one point called the center. What every point on the circle has in common is that it's the same distance from the center. That distance is called the radius, so we often denote it with an R. And the center we denote with h, k. So if we wanted to be able to write an equation relating any random point on the circle xy to the radius and the center, we could use the distance formula. So remember, the distance formula says that the distance between any 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2, is square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And what we have here is 2 points. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of hk as our x1, y1, and we're going to think of this guy here as our x2, y2, and r is the distance between them. So we can plug into this formula here, and we're going to have r equals the square root of, and then we're going to have x instead of x2, we have just x, minus x1 is h squared, plus y2 minus y1 is going to be y minus k squared. And so a formula, and we don't like leaving the square root. What we're going to do is we're going to square both sides, and we get x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And this we call the center radius form of the circle. Just like with the distance formula, I need you to memorize the center radius form of a circle. So what we're going to do next is just apply this formula, the center radius form of a circle. And what I mean by that is if I give you a circle, an equation of a circle in center radius form, I just need you to be able to identify the center and graph the circle. And we'll start with the equation x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 9. So when you're doing this, you want to compare this to the formula that we just learned. So I'm going to write it down right below it. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And remember, hk is the center and r is the radius. So let's start by identifying the radius. So since this is a circle in center radius form, in other words, because it fits the pattern here, we know that it's a circle. And on the end here, this number 9 is r squared. So now we want to say, well, if r squared is 9, that must mean that r is plus or minus the square root of 9, but a radius is always positive. So we're going to just have the positive square root of 9, which is 3. Okay, so the way we find the radius when we have an equation in this form is we just take the square root of that number on the right. And our center is going to be hk. Now, h is the number that's being subtracted from the x. So in this case, 2 is being subtracted from the x. So the x coordinate of the center is 2. And k is the number that's being subtracted from the y. So in this case, that would be a 1. So we have the center 2, 1. All right, now that we have the center and the radius, that's enough information to graph the circle. So again, my center was 2, 1. And my radius was 3. So I'm going to go to the point 2, 1 on my graph. I like to put an X instead of a dot when I plot the center of a circle, just to emphasize this is not actually a point on the circle, but just a reference point. So there's 2, 1. And then we're going to have a radius of 3, which means every single point on the circle is going to be exactly 3 units away from the center. Now, it's hard to find that distance off to this diagonal, but if we go straight up, straight down, down, straight to the left, and straight to the right, we can find exactly the coordinates that are 3 units away. I call them the north, south, east, and west points, right? So these are the points I will always want you to graph on your circle. 1, 2, 3 units up, you add 3 to the y value, and that's going to be the 0.24, right? Adding 3 to the y. That's the north point. The south point is going to be 3 units down. So subtracting from the y, 3, we would have -2. So we're going to be down at 2, -2. Okay, so there's the south point. East and west, if we're going to go to the east, we're adding 3 to the x this time. 3 units over from 2 is going to be 5, 1. And to the west, we need to subtract 3 from the x. 2 minus 3 is -1. So we'll be at -1, 1. And then we can draw in our circle. The north, south, east, and west points plotted. Again, how do we get those points? Okay, we had a radius of 3, so you're going to go up 3, to the left 3, to the right 3, and down 3 to get your 4 points. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please remember to like it.